Good morning. Hi. Welcome to Allen Avenue Unitarian Universalist Church's in-person and not online today, unfortunately, worship. Whether today is your first time here or you've been coming for years, we're so glad you are with us. My name is Susie. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm a member of the worship committee. We are a growing community that transforms lives through the power of love. Our mission calls us to celebrate diversity, encourage spiritual growth, and promote social responsibility while we travel on and care for the earth. A special welcome, as I said, there's unfortunately no Zoom today. There are some technical problems, so people are working very hard on it to get it back as soon as possible. If you're attending for the first time, that's Zoom also. Okay, this morning's service about people who inspire us is presented by Allen Avenue's Worship Committee. Lay-led worship is a tradition at this and many other Unitarian Universalist societies. At Allen Avenue, the Worship Committee either sponsors or presents one such service a month. On most other Sundays, services are led by our minister, the Reverend Tara Humphreys. And I have a couple of announcements from your Board of Trustees. This Friday, June 7th at 6:30 p.m. is our annual meeting. Early this coming week, you will be receiving the annual report, the financial statements, and the proposed 2024-25 operating budget. We hope you will read everything carefully so that you can come prepared with questions and comments. Although our tech team has been working frantically to fix our ability to Zoom, it's not looking particularly great at this point. As a result, we will be asking everyone to come in person. If you need transportation, please reach out to someone in the church community who lives near you. If that doesn't work and you still need a ride, please contact Ann Packard and she will try and help. Your attendance and participation are important. Please note that we do not know when our technology will be fixed to allow for participating on Sundays via Zoom. We know this is very frustrating and ask that you be patient. And from the Social Justice Committee, today's the day. Right after church, come to the RE wing to make signs for the Pride Parade. The Pride Parade will be June 15th. Of course, we plan for a big turnout from A2U2. Come today right after church in the RE wing to make signs, even if you cannot attend the Pride Parade. Or come to make the sign that you will carry on June 15th. See you there. Now, we invite you all to take this opportunity to silence your cell phones so that we may be fully present to one another. After the service, please grab a cup of coffee in the kitchen window and stay for conversation in the foyer. We encourage you to find someone you've never met before and introduce yourself. And now, let us center our hearts and minds with the ringing of the chimes. Our call to worship words are by Tanya Marquez. It is a wonder and mystery that our paths have crossed, that in the immensity of time, in the vastness of space, we coincide here. I am in awe at the ways in which our lives intersect, and intertwine, at the beauty we create when we gather. May our coming together make us more compassionate, more just, more caring, and more loving. May our hearts and minds be open to this offering. I'm so glad you are here. Let us worship. Let us marvel at the miracle of being here right now and the mystery that has brought us together.
Hello, I'm Kate Sullivan. I'm a member of the worship committee as well. Our chalice lighting words today are by Tracy Johnson, titled Beacon of Freedom. We kindle our chalice this morning, awakening the fire of our ancestors in our hearts. Beacon of freedom held out to light the way. Light of reason illuminating the path. Spark of courage igniting our spirits. Aglow with hope for all we endeavor to do together. Holy flame of times past, brighten this present moment, that we may be the love that is our center and our foundation. Blessed be. And now we invite you to rise in spirit or on your feet for the opening hymn, number 65, The Sweet June Days.
This is the time for all ages. And my name is Susie, and I'd like to talk with you about people who are wonderful friends, friends we admire and look up to. And I'd like to tell you about one of the best friends I've ever had. Her name was Elaine. Elaine lived to be 92 years old, and we were friends for 50 years. People loved Elaine because she loved people, and you could feel that love just being with her. You could tell because she listened carefully to what you said, and she would respond with a question or a comment that showed that she was interested. Elaine was so kind. If I told her about something that was making me sad or afraid, I knew that she really cared about my feelings. I always felt better when I talked to Elaine. And now I'm asking you, do you have someone like that? And this is everybody. Do you have someone like that who makes you feel better when you're sad or afraid? And would anyone like to say something about that person? Do you, down here in front, have anybody you'd like to talk about?
I wasn't really listening.
That's okay. We're talking about friends, good friends, who make you feel good. But that's, you don't have to, no. Anybody else?
Yeah,
Oh, good.
I have a good friend of probably more than 50 years now. And we have a long time ritual every Saturday morning. I'm over at Jeffrey's house having tea and reviewing the week and what's to come. And it's a very grounding ritual.
That sounds really good.
Susie, can you repeat that for people who might not have heard?
Yes, Mike said that he has a friend of more than 50 years, and every Saturday morning, and correct me if I get anything wrong, every Saturday morning he's at, I think it was Jeffrey's house, and they're drinking tea and talking about life. And I didn't get more details, but, and he said it's a very grounding ritual. And I can imagine that it is. Anybody else? Yes. Sir.
Well, I would say my sister Beth, we don't always get along, but as we've gotten older, and we're both in our 70s, we really, I love talking to her on the phone. She lives in Arizona, so we don't see each other that often, but we talk on the phone almost every other day, and it's such a fun, and it has made us very close. Funny thing to do.
Thank you, Sue. And Sue was talking about her sister Beth, who lives in Arizona, and she said they don't always get along, but they talk, they're very close, and they talk on the phone just about every other day, and that has helped bring them closer. Okay, yes.
Well, I had the opportunity to meet a lot of old friends at my 50th college reunion last weekend, and the one in particular was my roommate for 3 years, James Eckhauser, and it's always good to be with each other, even on the phone. It brings back a lot of memories and strengthen our relationship.
And he was talking about his 50th college reunion, and he met an old friend,
Roommate.
was Reuben?
Roommate.
An old roommate. And he said it was really good to reconnect. And did I miss? Okay, thank you. Elaine was also extremely funny. She had a very sly sense of humor, and since she was so nice, you didn't quite expect the slyness. But it was there, and it was very funny. And her laugh always made other people laugh. Over the years, I've learned a lot from Elaine about how to treat people kindly. I respected her so much, I wanted to be more like her. I learned to stop and listen more carefully to people. I learned to think about how other people might be feeling and to show them that I cared. I learned about some small actions that I had never thought about, like writing a note to someone if they had something sad happen. I don't do these things all the time. I'm still working on becoming more like Elaine. I'm not sure that even Elaine did them all the time, but she was someone I could look up to. She really inspired me. So I'd like to leave you with the thought of maybe someone who inspires you.
In a few moments, some of us will go to religious education programming. But first, I would like to invite Dexter, our lamplighter, to come light our lamp. The lamplighter is entrusted to transfer the light of the sanctuary chalice to the lamp and then go forth to RE spaces where they will light the chalice there. Please follow the lamplighter as we carry the flame and expand our sacred space.
Good morning, and happy June. I'm Rick Kimball, a member of the worship committee. And I remember that when we on the worship committee first shared our list of people who inspire us, we saw that all of them were women, mostly from distant times and distant spaces. Now that was not on purpose, and it was also not a problem. There's nothing wrong with honoring distant women. Yet as time passed, some of us shifted our gaze. We looked not just without, but within the church. And yes, we let some males sneak onto our list. After all, we are A2Us, committed to acceptance of and love for people of every gender and non-gender, people from here and there and everywhere. Speaking of here, here's where my focus landed. In this land of A for Allen Avenue, I found many who belonged on my A list. The first bore the name of a woman who was an elderly member of this church when I was a young member. She was Liz Glenn, a woman with many health problems. I remember her standing at this pulpit. "I never thought I would go blind," she said. "I never thought I would get cancer." She paused for a moment, then added with a gentle smile, "Every day, a new adventure." I try to recite those words as a mantra each morning when I crawl out of bed and think of the challenges and the pleasures ahead. Every day, a new adventure. Sing A for the spirit of adventure. The second woman on my A list was another member of this church, Judy Field, a friend and a fellow choir member. We were between ministers in 2018 when Judy was told that she had pancreatic cancer and 2 months to live. She called me and asked me to plan and lead her memorial service. I said yes, and soon after went to visit Judy in her home. I found the kitchen counters covered with very full bags. She saw me looking and explained, "I just bought all the things I'm not supposed to eat." Well, I love Judy's attitude, and I took a break from writing these remarks to snack on some very salted chocolate ice cream. Sing A for the awful stuff we care to eat and dare to eat. The third inspirator on my list is a composite, a mix of all the people of every gender in this church who so valiantly accept and meet the challenges of aging, the sons of Shakespeare, the cancers and other diseases, all the ills that may signal life's coming end. I am not among these people, I confess. For me, every pain a moan, every ache a groan. But others accept, often with humor. My wife Tyrrell is one of them. She has found many laughs along her Alzheimer's path, and sometimes when we head for our car in a parking lot, a moment of confusion causes her to try and enter somebody else's vehicle. Well, when I steer her back to ours, she chuckles. I don't, not at first anyway. I scowl and wish she had chosen a luxury limo or a Ferrari to take us off the road we are on. But there are no such vehicles in our church lot. Maybe we'll have to settle for Dave Jewe's convertible or Polly Juno's. Or take a little joyride in our own car, laughing all the way. Because when I hear Tyrrell laugh, I laugh too. She inspires me to that. Besides, what else can I do? He who resists laughter is a curmudgeon. Sing A for allowing life and yes, death to happen without miring down in the swamp of self-pity and complaint. So there you have it. Inspirators of Alan Avenue, A-list inspirators, A for adventure, and let's just see what happens next. A for all the food the doctors deny us, denial that tyranny, ignore as we involve the spirit of Judy Field and finish each day with ice cream. And A for acceptance, key to smooth passage through all stages of life, especially the later ones. You want inspiration? Just look around our congregation. There are lots of stories to tell. Forgive me if you catch me staring at you. I'm sizing you up for possible inclusion on my next list. Blessed be.
My name is Erica Bartlett, and the person I want to talk about is someone that a few of you may remember from earlier church years, Nancy Hutchison. I met Nancy here back in 1991, and even though she seemed very, very old to me as a teenager, I was also impressed by her. I don't actually know how old she was at the time, but she did consider herself a crone. She also walked with a cane because of a bad foot, but she didn't let that slow her down, figuratively or literally. For example, one of my memories of her happened on the way to church. My family lived in Casco, and so did Nancy, and one Sunday, she passed us in Wyndham. My dad was not a slow driver, and I think he was startled to be passed by someone with a handicap license plate. The car was also easily recognizable as Nancy's because of her bumper sticker. My other car is a broom. Nancy was vastly different from my grandmother's, which is part of what I found inspiring about her. I think she was divorced, or at least she lived alone with her dog, a beautiful standard black poodle named Bo, but she didn't seem lonely. She was involved in all kinds of things related to feminism and Wicca and paganism. She had goddess statues and other pagan-related items in her house. She wore purple a lot, and she never shied away from speaking her mind. Because she was so independent and passionate about her interests, Nancy was the first person who made me think that getting older might not be so bad. It was so helpful for me to see someone like her and know that the world was full of a lot more possibility than I'd realized. And by getting to know Nancy, I also got to know some of the other women in the church, which led me to being asked to participate in the women's services we used to do here. I'd been a little involved in services put on by the senior youth group, but not to this extent, and I was quite nervous about getting up in front of everybody. But Nancy inspired me to be brave, and after the first time I participated in one of those services, she told me how moved she'd been by what I'd said, and how proud she was of me. Since I'd never gotten that kind of praise from either of my grandmothers, it meant a lot to me. I continued to be involved in the women's services, and that experience of lay-led worship is a big part of the reason why I joined the worship committee. Nancy died while I was in college, but I made sure to come back for her memorial service, which was lovely. Her family even let me graciously have a vase of feathers she had collected, and it's in my living room. It helps me remember Nancy, as does my copy of the bumper sticker, "My other car is a broom," on one of my desk drawers. It still makes me smile.
Good morning, I'm Anna Noyes Benoit. In my thinking about inspirational people, I came up with a list of both historical and current leaders, and they included folks like Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King Jr., Nelson Mandela, Susan B. Anthony, Jane Goodall, Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Alexis Navalny, and the Parkland students, activists, just to name a few. While I admire these people, I can't say they inspire me on a daily basis or that I have any personal experience with them. So I came up with a different list of people who I find truly inspiring, and they are Erica, Rick, Mike, Susie, Kate, Dennis, and Reverend Tara. Of course, these are the folks on the worship committee that provide thoughtful worship on a monthly basis and organize and participate in summer services. The reflections they create are funny, exciting, and leave me feeling enthusiastic and interested. Additionally, they're all kind people who live their lives with integrity in a thoughtful and caring way. Members of our team provide a wealth of insight, are motivating, and offer practical advice on overcoming challenges, whether these topics include climate change or the care of an aging cat. We are committed to providing quality worship experience, and we love that process. I was recently watching a women's college basketball finals, and a young girl held up a sign that said, "Hey 22, I want to be like you." This, of course, refers to Caitlin Clark, number 22, who was the outstanding collegiate player for Iowa and is now playing professionally for Women's Basketball League. So I'm holding up this virtual sign that says, "Hey, worship committee, I want to be like you." June's Share the Plate recipient is the Yellow Tulip Project, a youth-driven movement whose mission is to smash the stigma surrounding mental illness. For more information, please refer to your order of service. Donations can be made now as a basket is passed through the donate button on our website, or if you are a member on Breeze. If giving through Breeze, please note if your donation is your pledge or a gift to our shared plate. You may also mail a check directly to the church. If you're visiting us for the first time, please know that your presence is your gift to us. At this time, our offering will be collected and gratefully received.
Still Kate here. And the piece that I wrote is called Overcoming Obstacles and Shining Through. Of the many people I could have chosen, I want to talk about two women who exemplify the strength, courage, and creativity to overcome obstacles and be a source of inspiration for others. First is Dorothy Sheehan Kelly, my grandmother, who was widowed when my mom was only 11. As a single parent, she raised 4 daughters and 1 son, continuing to run the corner grocery store founded by her husband, James. She taught herself bookkeeping and all the other skills required to run a successful neighborhood business. In the evening, she sewed clothing for her children, often deconstructing and repurposing her own clothes and some of her husband's. As her first grandchild, I remember her as a calm, loving, generous woman with a sense of humor. According to my mom, Dorothy Kelly could be unintentionally funny during moments of stress. A fast-moving river ran behind the house, which was a source of great fascination for her son James. And as he ran out the door, she was heard to call, "James Kelly, you drown, I'll kill you." If one of the girls faced her for a scolding, she was known to run through all 4 names: Marion, Joan, Patricia, Dorothy, her namesake, in her flustered state before landing on the right culprit. Needing a more stable income and more free time to devote to her children, she eventually sold the store and took a job as a telephone operator. Now that's when they sat in those rooms with those great big panels and plugged things in. She advanced to the supervisory position of chief operator in Bennington, Vermont, which she held until retirement. My grandmother's formal education ended with grade school, and yet her sharp mind and determined spirit allowed her to succeed in everything she attempted. Secondly, I want to talk about Michelle LaVaughn Robinson Obama. Raised on the south side of Chicago by working-class parents, she was an unknown figure to me until she became our first woman of color to serve as First Lady. I was so excited when Barack Obama became our 44th president and struck by the grace, beauty, and dignity of his wife. I watched and read every news story and article that shared her family, education, and work history, as well as her 4 main initiatives that were begun during her White House years. I was awed to discover how much she had already accomplished prior to her role as First Lady. There is not enough time or space during this worship service reflection to list this woman's many accomplishments as a lawyer, college dean, community service leader, mother, wife, and author. Briefly, she inspires me as a role model for women and a source of life lessons to apply as found in her 2 books, Becoming and The Light We Carry, Overcoming in Uncertain Times. Here are some of my favorite Michelle Obama quotes. "The only limit to the height of your achievements is the reach of your dreams and your willingness to work hard for them. When others go low, we go high. Always stay true to yourself and never let what somebody says distract you from your goals. And you can't make decisions based on fear and the possibility of what might happen." Michelle said in one interview that she didn't become fully aware of her race and its potential to be an obstacle until she attended Princeton University and was not welcomed as a roommate by a white classmate. I, for one, celebrate that this woman called fierce, fearless, and the hugger-in-chief never allowed prejudice, poverty, or the negative perceptions of others to prevent her from shining through.
Can you tell me where
I'm Mike Luce, also a member of the Worship Committee. The title of my piece is Bending the Rules and the Music. So one day in another lifetime, a long time ago, I was sitting in a music history class. I was awake. Because we had been learning a little bit about plain chant and the medieval church. Riveting stuff. Plain song is just like it sounds, plain. There's one melody line, one note per syllable of the text, and it's used in the liturgy. Kind of plods along like that. I mean, it can be beautiful, especially in a church with resonant acoustics, but a little is more than enough. For whatever reason, Professor Chamberlain then went on a rather extended talk about Hildegard of Bingen, an abbess in a monastery who had the temerity to change plain song in a fundamental way. She composed music, which we sing to this day. Some of it's in our hymnal. And it expanded on a single syllable. It gave it voice and a melody all its own before the next syllable or word. It's called a melisma. Writing like that it's called melismatic, and I was taken with the idea that she more or less invented it, freeing the words. It made the piece of music sing, to coin a phrase. You're familiar with the Gloria, everyone sings at Christmas. All that. That's her. We have her to thank for that. At the time, it really struck me how much this abbess, living in a monastery, she'd been given over as a child, of course, had changed music. The romantic in me couldn't get over how to fit my stereotype of a nun as being responsible to some degree for releasing such beauty and freedom. I thought she was just really cool. I think he might have mentioned that she had a lot of other accomplishments, but it was just the music I was interested in at the time. It wasn't until a lot later that I learned of the rest of this amazing woman. She was a true polymath. She corresponded with a lot of the other bigwigs of the day about theology, botany, science, wrote poetry, had visions which inspired much of her theology. Now, I'm pretty sure her theology and mine weren't very congruent, but that's okay, it doesn't have to. She lived a life of extremes. She spent a significant part of her life cloistered, but she had really extensive correspondence. She was taken very seriously by the powers of the day. She even gave public sermons based on her visions, traveling to other cities to be heard. Her mind never stopped working. She had an herbal garden in her abbey, which was part of her medical practice, which was a combination of medicines, sacred objects, and spiritual healing. And the other notable thing, her book, Physica, was the first documentation of hops being used to brew beer. Not bad for a woman who was given over to the church and lived much of her life cloistered. And somehow, centuries later, she's still being talked about and inspiring all sorts of people if they have the good fortune to learn about her. Now, please rise as you are able to sing the closing hymn, number 124, Be That God.
Rise above the daily strife.
look, we find inspiration in the people around us. We carry pieces of them with us. May we leave this place today remembering that, and that we can be the same for them. Please remain seated for the closing music.